My mom's always said when it's right, while waiting till the middle of a cold dark night. Sky rockets in flight, woo! Afternoon delight, woo!
Limitations exist only within our minds. But if we learn to harness the power of our imagination, possibilities become endless. Today we embark upon a narrative together. A narrative of adventure, of discovery, of pushing limitations. And although we do not advocate the use of drugs, we also don't not advocate it. Many of the subsequent stories would not have been possible without the use of mind-altering substances. We invite you to open your eyes, heart, and soul, and allow yourself to enter into our world. As the great Henry David Thoreau put it, the mind is but a canvas, the imagination.
So, to further illustrate this point, we would like to invite all of you upon a journey with us that will take you further than the most far-out, free, fun-faring field trip you could ever imagine. I'm piddling in mere anticipation. If you all see a candy in front of you, do you all see a candy in front of you? Anyone without one? Oh, if you do not see a candy, we deemed you a flight risk and have designated you as our trip sitter. So your job is... You look kind of bummed. Yeah, no, fuck it. You too. So, in my vast experience with reading about what supposedly happens when one hypothetically ingests LSD, it helps if you are in the right state of mind and the right environment. So, let's set the mood. If everyone would please close your eyes and follow my lead. Visualize. You're walking down a path, and at the end of the path is somewhere only you can dream of. Somewhere where reality meets this canvas of imagination. Your foot takes a first step down the path, and a wave of blissful tranquility passes through your entire body. You arrive at a second step, feeling relaxation spread through you, starting at the tips of your toes and slowly swaying. You step down a third time, sliding deeper into a state of relaxation, spreading up your legs now. And with a fourth step, as you take your next breath in, the feeling reaches all the way up to your chest. With a fifth and final step, you are completely engulfed in the calm, safe, and completely relaxed. There's one step left. You lift your leg, you stretch it out far in front of you, and your body jolts. Your feet are fumbling for traction, anything firm to hold on to. But it's too late. You're in Robin's world now.
Yep. I'd married a stranger, moved 3,000 miles away from home, dropped out of graduate school, and stumbled into a career as an art critic. But those changes, which most of us would consider fairly significant, weren't a poot in a plastic poke compared to the permutation, the alchemical alteration, the reorientation that I would undergo sitting quietly in an armchair one July afternoon in 1964.
I'm not exaggerating. In fact, there's not a hyperbole that exists that would do it justice. It wasn't one, but a succession of white rabbits popping up first here and then there. That would eventually lead me down the hole into Wonderland. The first of these oracular bunnies had caught my eye when one Saturday, some artist invited me to accompany them in the mountains on the chanterelle hunt. Chanterelle? Chanterelle. Sounded like the stage name of a chanteuse in a Parisian nightclub. I was pretty sure no sexy French singer was lost in the Cascades. But what then? What was a chanterelle?
A mushroom. It turned out to be a damn mushroom. Down south where I hailed from, folks did not waste a perfectly fine autumn afternoon tramping over hill and dale looking for wild mushrooms. Au contraire, the mushroom is an object of mystery, blooming in thick fogs of superstition. its roots reaching into the deepest cellars of the human unconscious. On one level, it has a reputation as an aphrodisiac, both its image and its many names, in many languages, soaked with erotic meaning.
Throughout the world, the mushroom has been employed as a symbol for penis, vagina, and the sex act itself. Conversely, or maybe not, it has been chosen since the primitive times to represent evil and death. Standard equipment for poisoners and a necessary accessory for a well-appointed witch, dark is the hue of fungoid repute. Laconer, the picturesque fishing village, and a long-time artist community where 8 years later I settled down, if that's not too witty a phrase, made an excellent home base for mushroom expansions.
There. Friends and I motored into the Cascades all that autumn in search for oyster mushrooms, king boletus, matsusaki, and more chanterelles. We invaded foothill pastures to gather any of one of several tasty Agripus species. But winter shut us down. But come late March, we turned our attention to the morel, one of the most prized and savory of all the wild mushrooms. And despite its uncanny resemblance to the withered gray penis of a 1,000-year-old mummy.
It was about that time, however, that someone just so happened to mention a particular article in Recent Life magazine that went into quite some detail about a mushroom, a variety that illuminated not the palate, but the mind. Curious, I tracked down that issue of Life, opened into the article in question, and whoosh!
You notice that I squinted whenever I scanned funny papers. My parents touched me to an optometrist. As a consequence, and much to my embarrassment, I entered the first grade wearing a pair of wire-rimmed spectacles. And the school year was about a month or so old when Charlie, the class roughneck, punched me in my face, shattering my glasses. Can't imagine what I must have said to provoke the little bastard.
At any rate, I was physically unharmed, but the force of the blow sent a piece of glass flying, delicious irony, into his, Charlie's right eye, and it had to be surgically removed.
Take heed, you foul-spirited critics! Scurrilous attacks have been known to backfire.
As mentioned, I started writing fiction at age 5. I'm very important. One could say I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells of rich mahogany. Hardly an overnight success, however. I didn't get published until I was 7. I attended a large consolidated school, grades 1 through 12, in the same 3-story building. There was a bi-weekly school newspaper, edited and almost exclusively written by juniors and seniors. Well, I had recently composed on notebook paper a rather melodramatic story featuring a courageous dog who ate an entire wheel of cheese, and his owner, who wasn't even mad because that's amazing, slapped the story down his front editor's desk and said, "Print this." It appeared in the next issue, and I thought,
Was it Nancy Lentz to whom I proposed? Or was it Sweet Caroline?
Ba, ba, ba.
I can't remember which. They were both beauties, nor do I actually even recall if they did more than giggle incomprehensibly at my matrimonial gesture. There was a moment, though, that night, when she was sandwiched between the 2 Finnish dwarves and the Maori tribesmen, where I thought, wow, I could really spend the rest of my life with this woman.
I just had to get her home. And having spent significant and affecting years in each of them, I claim to have 5 of them. Never mind, not one of them would likely lay claim to me. Listed in reverse order, they are
O'Connor and Seattle and Washington, Richmond and Warsaw in Virginia, and Blowing Rock, North Carolina, the town where I was born, the final resting place of my kin, and in the site of all the events so far described in this account. Discovered by the Germans in 1904, they named it Santiago, which of course in German means a whale's vagina. But for obvious reasons, changed it to Blowing Rock, which took its name from a geological formation, an actual rock. It only rhymes with something inappropriate.
It's a bit of an understatement to say that Blowing Rock is in the mountains. highest incorporated town east of the Rockies, Blowing Rock is on the mountains, atop the mountains. From Blowing Rock, baby, it's all downhill.
So I'm rappelling down Mount Vesuvius when suddenly I slip. And I start to fall. Just falling. I'll never forget the terror. When suddenly I realize, holy shit, Ansel. Haven't you been smoking peyote for 6 straight days? Couldn't some of this maybe be in your head? And it was. I was totally fine. I've never ever been to Mount Vesuvius.
Well, shit. Growing up in that landscape, I wasn't unhappy exactly. I had an interesting job, sufficient material support, and congenitally comic sensibility. A lens of levity that not even a neurotic, alcoholic wife could fog. Hey,
Still, something was lacking. Mysticism too abstract, too remote to warmly embrace. Art, too concrete, too accessible to resonate for very long in areas of the brain beyond the optic nerve.
You could see who was and who wasn't on LSD. We didn't like posers, but we liked to pose for pictures. Because there was something about those nights we knew would be remembered, even if we couldn't remember it. We were young and naive, in a way that seems to be a lost art. We were snotty and compassionate, deliberate and reckless, but we knew exactly what we were doing. We were ghosts then, just as we are ghosts now. We will haunt your malls and catwalks forever.
In that nondescript period between the end of the beige 50s and the beginning of the day-glow 60s, I found myself drifting in an unfulfilled ocean of circumstance. Perhaps I was simply itching to move further outside the realm of expectation, thereby insulating myself from the temptations of bourgeois compromise. Maybe I wanted bliss freedom. Wanted freedom. Wanted deeper meaning. Wanted to experience what surrealist poets meant when they meant raspidized about the absolute. Maybe I too wanted a tete-a-tete with the supreme theory.
Or maybe I was just terminally curious. My young pals and I were all over the bark like ants in a loaf. And my imagination swam in the mythology like sperm in a love bath.
How could I have not succumbed to romanticism? The problem was that I didn't know a single other soul who had taken LSD.
for proprietary reasons, Jim didn't introduce me to any of his lab rats. And that at the time of the public in Seattle, even the hip public was surely unacquainted with the awe-inspiring, life-changing alkaloid synthesized from a fungus that grows only on barley and wheat.
To be sure, guys, Life magazine. I mean, come on, who else, right? They had recently run a lengthy article about LSD. But acid trips were not a subject for discussion at the Blue Moon or anywhere else in town. Lacking Confederates, I felt I'd become a minority, a nation, a race unto myself. Thus isolated, I commenced to entertain thoughts of emigration.
Secretly, I pined to go in search of my new kin, to mingle somewhere with others similarly mutated. I knew that they were out there.
Was I channeling Leary and Albert?
I just didn't know where to find them. This reclusion wasn't all that bad, actually. While my acidified self lacked positive reinforcement, it also was not subjected to the enormous negativity that LSD would generate in years to come. The overwhelming hostility, most of it ill-informed, if not outright mendacious, from quarters both official and haphazard, from everyone who, in fact, maintains a vested interest in the status quo.
I'd prefer to deal with this more matter-of-factly. In fact, so did Apple's legendary Steve Jobs when he told his biographer,
Taking LSD was one of the 2 or 3 most important things I've done in my life.
the most successful, innovative, influential man of modern times. We want to credit LSD to shape his integrated systems and product design. Let it go back.
Oh, the memories they bring me of Flowing Rock.
On our way to the Rock, or one of our other various woodland hideouts, we frequently passed the bark. My buddies and I tend to pause there for long minutes, staring into the place as if there was some great treasure stored up there. Once in a while, we'd see a gentleman emerge after we knew about to dancing and drinking inside.
We'd see some tattooed fellow with a cigar in his teeth and with what the Sunday school crowd called a floozy on his arm. Watched the couple straddle a big Harley Davidson and go roaring out of the red clay parking lot, enveloped in an oxygen of freedom about whose perils and rewards we could scarcely guess. At those moments, all I wanted was to quickly become old enough to drink beer, dance, get tattooed, smoke cigars, ride motorcycles, and have a floozy of my own on my arm.
I suppose there could have been an element of the romantic in my desire for the Mexican mushroom. An adult equivalent of stowing away on a smuggler's sloop, or running away with the circus. Although in retrospect, I think it was something more universally felt, if less commonly expressed. A vague yet potent desire to experience, I felt it personal, the fundamental essence of reality, the witch of which there is no witcher, the ghost in the machine.
I guess I wanted to break into that melting gemstone castle and see if there was somebody or something in there who actually knew which came first, the chicken or the egg.
It was so inspirational and eye-opening, but from a practical point of view, it's like trying to teach a monkey to play chess.
Eventually, I was to accomplish all those things, and they in no way proved to be a disappointment. Who said the bark was worse than its bite?
Oh man, the Hanna brothers, Georgie and Jimmy. They were Iraqi Jews actually born in Baghdad. Their father was a rug merchant who sold fine oriental carpets in Florida every summer. The day each June when Georgie and Jimmy got back into town was for me an occasion more anticipated than Christmas. They were my favorite playmates, for their imagination equaled my own. The Hanna brothers excelled at making wooden swords and guns, and at piecing together the funky costumes. Apparently necessary for acting out our bizarrely improvised versions of recent movie scenes.
The three best friends stared each other in the eyes. They knew that this could be the end of a long road for them. And they also knew how much they meant to each other. And although neither of them could say it out loud, they were both thinking,
I love you, man.
In theaters now, coming this summer. Two brothers in a van, and then a meteor hit. And they ran as fast as they could from giant cat monsters. And then a giant tornado came. And that's when things got weird and knocked into the 12th gear.
A Mexican armada shows up with weapons made from tomatoes. And you better bet your bottom dollar that these two brothers know how to handle their business.
In Alien Invasion Tomato Monster Mexican Armada Brothers, who are just regular brothers running in a van from an asteroid and all sorts of things. The movie.
Hold on, there's more. Old women are coming and they're also in the movie and they're gonna come and attack these two brothers. But let's get back to the brothers because they have a strong bond. You don't want to know about it here, but I'll tell you something.
The moon! It comes crashing into Earth. And what do they do then? It's the two brothers and it's the two brothers in the moon and it's crashing into Earth and it's the two brothers and, well, it's just called Two Brothers.
All summer long, we strive to outdo one another on our variations on comic or cinematic book themes, performing in backyards, along mountain trails, on the broken porches of haunted houses.
daring one another to go inside. I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker.
You don't want mushrooms.
I do. Trust me, I really do.
No. Mushrooms aren't trustworthy. The amount of psychoactive properties differs from locale to locale, from season to season, from mushroom to mushroom. Two mushrooms, just chilling, just growing side by side, contain a different amount of the mind-affecting agent. It's impossible to gauge proper dosage.
You paused registering my disappointment.
Oh, don't cry, please. Don't cry. There's something else. There's something cleaner, and safer, and more reliable, and equally effective. Actually, it's more effective if that's where you want to go.
He paused the game.
It's called, say it with me, class,
Lysergic acid diethylamide 25.
It's quite pungent.
Is it really?
It's a formidable scent. It stings the nostrils in a good way.
Well, yep.
Brian, I'm gonna be honest with you. That smells like pure gasoline. They've done studies, you know. It works 60% of the time, every time. How about in the park? When I said you were my friend, you didn't say anything back.
Well, that's easy. It's because we're not friends. The only reason I know you is because I like the drugs you sell. If you didn't sell drugs, I would have no idea who you were, and I wouldn't be here right now. My life would be fantastic.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. That sounded really mean. Just to hear that sounded really mean.
No, I see. The monkey's out of the bottle now.
What? That's not even a figure of speech.
You know what? Pandora can't go back in the box. He only comes out.
Who said anything about coming out?
Wait, did you eat all that acid? The entire sheet? How did you do that? I'm not even mad. That's amazing. Hey, how about we get you in your PJs? This trip's starting to get weird.
I never heard of LSD. But the moment I heard those words, a white rabbit, the size of a TV preacher's Cadillac, as preposterous as a unicorn, flashed by the restaurant window and vanished down a rain-swept street. I should go without saying, I was eager to try this LSD stuff.
But why? It couldn't be categorized simply as thrill-seeking. Although, as a boy, I had pursued romantic adventures. But that was unrealistic kid stuff.
When, after Labor Day, Georgie and Jimmy were sadly returned to Sarasota, and the limitless galaxy of make-believe all soon gave way to the mundane world of school. I still have my reading and writing, though.
I also had Jimmy Holzhauser, a year-round boy, my next best friend, and, oh, the shame, my partner in actual crime. He had a voice that could make the Wolverine purr, and suits so fine they made Sinatra look like a hobo. One half-warm spring afternoon, Johnny and I were moping about, bored with the accumulated inertia of church and school, despondent over a chronic lack of funds.
We had not a dime for a comic book, not a nickel for a candy bar, not even a gumball or gumball. And at age 7 going on 8, attempting to barter our pants for financial gain would have been neither cute nor profitable. All at once, or maybe it unfolded gradually, we had an idea, a strategy, a ploy. It was simple.
With rubber band.
Yes, things got weird. But I was aware always that the weirdness was a product of the drug and would in time subside. Not that I was in any great hurry to return to the real world. For that matter, in a state where Einstein's theorems were as concrete, as present and obvious as the chair I sat upon, temporal terms such as hurry had little meaning.
At the end, for what Jim was a long day, I was convinced I've only been sitting there for 2 hours. I was in molecular time, cosmic time, not clock time.
My system was in harmony with the stars, with the systems of orbiting particles in the Indole ring. It has occurred to me that the so-called hallucinations commonly associated with psychedelic ingestion are in fact diversionary tactics of the part of the ultra-conservative human DNA, whose primary purpose is always preservation of the species.
Of course, that was hardly an original solution. All throughout the 60s, proactive young fellows with neither time, money, nor prospects and discovered that robbing banks could impact their cash flow in a positive, if not always sustainable manner.
Johnny and I each owned a cat pistol that fairly closely resembled an actual handgun.
Thus armed, we marched into the bank, pointed our pieces at an astonished teller, and demanded a lot of money.
Mind you, this was no prank.
You're completely serious.
Everything been very quiet for a moment or two.
Then, the shooting began.
I didn't mean it, and I know it wasn't right. I can't even see it, and I can't get it out of my mind. I need to get out of sight, what I left behind. What started off as a simple altercation turned into a real sticky situation. Me just thinking all the time that I miss it makes me wanna cry. Cause I didn't mean to hurt him. Could have been somebody's son. And I took his heart when I pulled out that gun.
Rum pa pa bum, rum pa pa bum, rum pa pa bum. Man,
lie At least, we thought it was shooting. When subjected to LSD, there's a portion of our brain that, failing to scare us into a bad trip, will then roll out these amazing fractal 3D cartoons, hoping that by sufficiently entertaining us,
It can divert us from the existential truths the fungoid alkaloid seems mysteriously designed to uncover.
For its narrow interests, our DNA puts on a show, hoping to head off a psychic jailbreak.
As for the nature of the truths, the DNA that scares the pants off the fusty, they may vary from slightly individual to individual.
Although, almost in every instance, the overtones can be best described as oceanic. Often suggesting some merging between spirituality and theoretical physics.
in those days, there was a batch of acid called torpedoes. A perfectly chosen name since they caused fractal 3D cartoons in our minds of what we imagined torpedo explosions would look like.
Obviously unknown to us, the bank had a supply of said torpedoes, and one or two of the employees surreptitiously began throwing them at the marble floors and walls.
Johnny bolted for the door, me right behind him. We were convinced there were bullets past whizzing us. But we took a hightail road and we went up a steepish
hill and barreled into the woods, not stopping until we reached a primitive
Lean-to, one of our aforementioned hideouts.
There.
breath.
We collapsed.
on the pine needles.
And waited.
Waited.
Listening for sirens.
Or other signals, the police or a posse of vigilantes was on our tail. My arms are heavy, my knees are weak, my palms sweaty. There's vomit on my sweater already, my mother's spaghetti. I'm nervous, but on the surface I look calm and ready to drop bombs. But I keep on forgetting what I wrote down, the whole crowd is oh so loud. I open my mouth, but the words won't come out. I'm choking, how? Everybody's joking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, plow. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes Rabbit. He's choked. He's so mad, but he won't give up that easy. No.
Hours passed.
Darkness fell.
A heavy chill.
Like an ice-hoofed horse.
Clattered in and out among the
Rhododendron and huckleberry bushes.
Owl Putin!
We heard growling that might have been a bear.
oh, a mountain lion.
Oh, the boogeyman! Or just the empty stomachs.
But do you guys remember Rappin' Duke? Daha Daha? I never thought that hip hop would take it this far. I made the change from a common thief to up close and personal, taking Tom Robbins and LSD. And I'm far from cheap. I smoke skunks with my peep all day. Spread love. It's the blowing way.
The Nancy and Tony got me pissy. Girls used to diss me. Now they're writing letters because they miss you. I was used to doing this writing stuff. I was just used to popping shrooms and stuff.
Now honey's made it close like butter play toast. From Loch Connor down to the East Coast. Condos in Queens, Indo for weeks. Sold out shows to hear Tommy Rotten speak. Living life without fear.
Putting 5 carrots in my baby girl's ear. Brunches, interviews by the pool.
Considered cool because I dropped out of high school. Stereotypes of a white man misunderstood.
And
it's still all good.
The psychedelic experience, I'm afraid, is fundamentally resistant to ordinary verbal description.
It is possible for users to suffer acute anxiety and flashbacks. They've been reported even days, or even months after ingestion. So much so that even a professional novelist can scarcely write about it without swarthing in the purple cloak the observations of
I am the Eggman. I am the Eggman.
I am the walrus. Cuckoo, ka-choo. Cuckoo, ka-choo.
I am he, as you are he, as you are me, as we are all together. See how they run like pigs from the gun. See how they fly. I'm crying. I'm crying. I am crying.
In a state which during time had either flown every direction or no direction at all, I was hit by realization. This sounds quite sophomoric when I relate it to you, but that doesn't negate the fact that LSD served to relieve me from a lifelong secret sense of dread. Finally, unable to stand it any other minute, we crept hungrily, nervously, sheepishly, back to our respective houses.
Happily, I did not turn out to be one of those people who allowed psychedelics to become the center of their universe. Although I certainly could understand and even sympathize with their obsession. In the year following my day down the infinite rabbit hole, the excursion was seldom far from my mind. The reflections were entirely positive, furnished with musings of optimism. Yet that year was the most lost and lonely period of my life.
I was at sea, tossed about almost incessantly between intimacy and isolation. I say intimacy because, operating on daisy consciousness, as it were, I felt connected to the natural world and its myriad manifestations in the most personal, caring, comprehending, and bedazzled way. On the other hand, there was no one to whom I might explain, let alone to anyone who I could share these feelings with.
Oh, sure. The Pacific Northwest was crawling with nature lovers, but they didn't make the connections between their neurons in their brain and the photosynthesis in their gardens. They never heard Earth humming its sidereal song. It rarely occurred to them that perhaps we're all just some butterfly's dream. They genuinely appreciated the perceived world remaining oblivious to the worlds within worlds within worlds. Ad infinitum.
In my room, I lay awake, troubled by guilt, scorned by embarrassment, worried about inevitable repercussions. Yet with a secret smile, I couldn't help but thinking, as the old coots down in Appalachia used to say, you can burn me for a fool, but you won't get no ashes or acid.
Afternoon delight. Ooh.